Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Spiral Out Podcast. I'm your host, Chris West. It is 2023. I know I haven't put out an episode in a long time, but we are going to hit the ground running this year. I personally have been working on some other big projects, short film, as a thank you to podcast listeners. If you would like to be one of the first to preview this even before it's released in the festival circuit, let me know. Podcast listeners get first access to the short film that's coming out, produced by Spiral Out Pod. There's a lot of cool, fun, interesting, controversial things that are going on right now. AI art, AI tech, corruption, scandal in the communities. There's a fetus inside of a crystal skull. So much going on. And we're going to talk about it all this year. But first, for our top 2022 listeners, there is a gift in the mail. It's coming for you. Keep an eye out. On this episode, we have a very special guest, Munk One. He did the Denver Puscifer print from 2022 and the Tulsa Puscifer print from 2022, both which are quite amazing. And Munk One, Mr. One, is kind of an inspirational figure in the community. He has such a positive attitude, and it really comes across in this episode. He was a pleasure to have on, so stay tuned, listen. Thank you. Spiral out. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Spiral Out Podcast. I'm your host, Chris West, and on today's show, we have the legendary Munk One. Hi, Mr. Munk.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Or is it Mr. One?
Munk One's fine. Yeah, nobody ever really calls me One, Mr. One.
Mr. One. You have done a gazillion gig posters and lots of other art, commercial art, fine art. Let's get into it, if you don't mind.
Great.
And thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Christopher. I appreciate it.
Did you get a chance to look at any other episodes or anything?
I did. Yeah. I kind of flipped through whatever was up there, and they're interesting. I like. I'm excited to do this because it seems like you have some interesting people on there, and I just wanted to be part of it. So, yeah, thank you.
I'm grateful you want to be a part of it. So the first time I saw anything from you was Puscifer poster. So I always kind of start there because this podcast is kind of geared towards Tool, Puscifer, Perfect Circle stuff.
Right.
We're starting to branch out a little bit more here and there, but that was your second Puscifer poster, right?
Yeah. I did one. I forget how many years ago, but that would be my second one that you saw.
The first one I think was in. I've done research, but 2016, you did one of the luchador wrestlers and it had a bunch of cats.
Yeah.
Like a shit ton of cats.
Cats with little horns on them, right?
Yeah. And, and red eyes.
Yeah.
So with the newest Puscifer one, it was very popular. I don't know how the reception was on your end, but, from my end where, I talked to collectors and am a collector myself, that was like one of the most sought after of this tour. Can you kind of go through your first initial concept?
The concept for that one was based on the whole Men in Black sort of theme, of like the black suits and the aliens and just trying to get that vibe going. But I felt if that was the look that everyone else was going to be going towards, I wanted to do something a little bit different and kind of focus more on the alien part, and also going back to that luchador theme, even though I'm sure they've moved past that right now. I want to kind of bring it into this look, sort of like a transition. So that's where the outside of the luchador breaking open and then showing this little cool alien guy in there with the suitcase, and from the suitcase from like one of the videos. And
do you remember like when you're like, I know what I'm going to do? Do you remember that like spark moment?
No, not specifically. I usually do a few at least a few different sketches, just to see what sparks my interest. I think that's the starting point of most of these. Is usually I'll start with a few words like written down, just ideas, concepts that I'm thinking about, and then if any of those spark my interest, I'll take it to paper, kind of sketch it out. And sometimes it's just like, wow, that is not going to work at all. But other times it's like, okay, yeah, let's keep going with this. And yeah, I'm not exactly sure when I was like, okay, that's going to work. It could have been just the words. It could have been a sketch.
Did you do multiple sketches?
Yeah. I most likely did at least 2 to 3 sketches. Recently, I've been doing a few more just because I've been trying to push my art and well, I'm always trying to push it, but I've been trying to try different looks and styles and just try to get away from specific things I've done in the past. I've been doing posters for a while now, and I don't ever want to become like a caricature of myself.
So what does that look like when you are transitioning? Like, how do you notice you're like, okay, I've been doing this thing? Because again, looking at your stuff and me not being an artist, I just see a bunch of cool shit. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So how do you change it up? Like what's the mindset?
I think just trying different ways of going about solving the problem, whether it's a different composition, different colors. I mean, it's art, so there's a million different ways of doing the same exact thing, and I'm just trying to do something that sparks again my interest. If I'm not interested in it, I'm not going to do it. I want to be able to work on something that is like, okay, that's going to be a cool problem to solve, or a new way for me to express an emotion or a feeling that I personally have. So yeah, a lot of times, well, recently it's just even just at the sketch phase, I'll just be like, yeah, I'm not happy yet, and I'll just keep going with it. And it can be frustrating at times because we are on tight deadlines to get these done, but at the same time, I have that history in my career where I worked doing T-shirts for like clothing companies, and
Sure.
and those had way tighter deadlines. These deadlines for posters, they're a little bit more extended,
They're
just
like
by the nature of what they are.
they're like months in advance usually, right?
Yeah, most of them, not all of them, but yeah, it's nice to have months in advance. But yeah, it's definitely not a day turnaround.
Are T-shirts like a day turnaround sometimes?
Occasionally, yeah. When you're working, well, when I was working in the merchandise industry, like 15 years ago, 20 years, I don't know how long it's been, but yeah, I mean, we would do multiple designs, like graphic design in that sense is like really, really fast. You're trying to do as much design work you can in the a week for a presentation to a client.
Oh, wow.
So it's much different, and I I really enjoy posters much better, actually.
And you've been doing posters since like 2009, right?
Yeah, right around there. I've done like a few smaller projects, but not like full on like Pearl Jam or anything like that. So 2009 was when I did my first Pearl Jam print, and that just opened up so many doors.
And I read that it was just from knowing other artists, and they just kind of put your name out there, right? And what Pearl Jam was like, we'll take it, right? I'm guessing.
Not for me specifically. Actually remember telling somebody that I was working for or working with, because I was a freelancer at the time. I told them that I was looking to get into print. I just made that note just in case anything ever came up. I wasn't not expecting Pearl Jam. I was not expecting much really, but I kind of whenever I want to do something, I kind of like put it out into the world and kind of see, hey, if you know anybody that's doing this,
I do the
let
same
them
thing.
know that I'm interested. Yeah. And thankfully, I mean, the job that came through was Pearl Jam, and that was just insane.
So, kind of back to the Puscifer poster, aliens. So I recently had Brian Ewing on, who's a fan of yours.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know of him.
I'm a big fan of his too. He's a good guy.
I don't know how intertwined. This is a question I have later. but he said that you were the best alien artist out there.
That's very kind. I don't know if that's true,
I
but
I mean, I'm hard pressed to disagree, especially with that poster. What really stands out to me, I guess, what I've seen, with your art, is your use of like pinks, like neon pinks, greens. I'm sure you get this a lot. These very bright colors I don't see in a whole lot of other posters. Obviously, it's intentional, but I'm just curious if there's thought behind that, or if it's like has to do with black light, or just being more interactive with the poster.
no, I think it's just the colors that are calling me right now. Not all of my posters have
Sure.
always used those types of colors. Right now, I am using a lot of fluorescent colors, brighter colors, just because I'm actually in a different part of my career where I'm comfortable mixing specific colors to achieve a desired outcome. Whereas in the past, I may have been a little bit more conservative with my palette, but also was going for a different look at the time. So it's just where I'm at right now. But
Sure.
yeah, I'm using a lot of bright colors. I know a lot of people do like the black light kind of look, and it does. Those fluorescent colors do look great
Yeah, that's
under
dope.
that.
So I read somewhere that it had like a list of things you enjoy, and the one thing that stood out was you enjoy absurdity. It said. I'm just curious on if that is completely out of context, if it's too old for you to remember, but it's a question I feel like I have to ask because with artists, it seems like absurdity is the norm. You get you get to, imagine these crazy aliens, animals, these space figures, monsters, demons, angels. You know what I'm saying? You guys just get to dabble and create these things. I'm just trying to figure out what would be absurd to somebody with an imagination so vivid.
I enjoy absurdity in everywhere. I think for me, it's just a much even bigger philosophy than art in my life. Just everything around me, I try to not take too personally, and just because I am sort of like a fan of like Camus and his philosophy on absurdity and the life not really meaning much other than potentially what you make it, and that's you know one viewpoint, and it's a viewpoint that I enjoy. So yeah, it bleeds into all aspects of my life, not outside art, just
So then,
whether it's comedy
yeah.
or different types of art, even just the way you live your life, what you do with it and how you enjoy your time outside of regular, whether it's a 9 to 5 or,
Yeah, because somebody might think
any type of job.
a 9 to 5 might be absurd.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, it's just trying to figure out a way to enjoy life knowing this. And that can be a challenge at times. But you know, I just keep going, and art is definitely one of those ways. Is just using my time creating things that I feel connect other people. Like my career in the past has been, I've had political aspects to it when the landscape wasn't what it is today, and nowadays I'm just in a different mindset where I'm creating more, a lot more tour posters that kind of bring people together in a good way, as opposed to the more of the political stuff in the past that may have caused divisiveness,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
I'm not really sure if it really made any difference.
I don't disagree with you. Like, for example, I know you did that Obama piece of art, right?
Yeah,
Which was on like bus stops, and it was
yeah.
it was all over the place, right? Was it national?
I believe that was in a lot of it was like in Pennsylvania, in one of the major
Gotcha.
battlegrounds.
I
Yeah,
I actually campaigned for him during that tour. I mean, during that era. So I
yeah.
mean, again, I can understand being in that place at that time, and now it's like I don't even watch the news at all. Like I don't give a goddamn what any politician is doing. But I
Yeah,
mean,
what a big change,
I
right? I
mean,
mean,
you know what I think it has to do, and we may or may not leave this in, but like I was really big into like that movie Zeitgeist, and you coming out of the Bush era where it was like conspiracies meant something, it was all new, you were like learning about 9/11, blah blah blah, and then
mhm.
it just kind of was like, well, I guess nothing's ever gonna happen, so you just kind of get delusioned, I get disillusioned, I guess, and then it's like, oh, I'm just gonna do what I like. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a different time for sure. Um, I've I'm not sure if staying away from doing that kind of art is a positive thing uh, in general, but for me, I just had to take a step back and kind of like reorganize myself, and I always say I'm still may get back into that type of artwork in the future, but right now it's not calling to me in the same way as it was.
So this is coming from a guy who doesn't make his own original art. I'm just curious on how impactful a piece of art could be in that format. Like, what I guess what is the metric to see what you're doing?
I don't know. I think for me it was more of a what how it made me feel as a person, because it does take you know something from the artist to want to say something, and if you're not saying it, well, then it's gonna weigh on you. Right now, it's not weighing on me. I think there's
Gotcha.
so much out there in the world, and so many things being said, that if I was to say something in that aspect, then it it just feels like it would be a drop of water in an ocean right now,
Yeah,
and it's not worth my time.
yeah, I hear you.
I feel like I'd rather use my time right now, as just recently, not recently, but during the last few years, I guess, and now I feel like I'd rather focus my time on
Cool shit.
just creating fun stuff that's a little bit more hopeful, I guess, and unifying and fun, and yeah, all that.
So switch back gears a little bit.
Hmm.
I feel like I didn't answer this question with the Puscifer poster. You did a what is it? Horizontal view one, right? As opposed to vertical, like 18,
Correct.
like yours is
Uh
18
huh.
by 24.
Yeah, it's
Um,
still 18 by 24, but
yeah,
just
but it's
horizontal.
yeah. Um,
Hmm.
when trying to figure out your composition, I guess, because that's the most interesting part to me. Like, is trying to figure out how artists go. Okay, this is how big I want this head to be in the background. That's going to split open. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm very curious on setting up compositions, and I guess just the origin, because you're probably the 25th artist I've talked to, and nobody can
Hmm.
really pinpoint like how they decide something when it comes to like a piece of art. I feel like they all just say, it just kind of comes out.
I think it's most of the time is personal preference in general, but for me personally, uh, I have certain little rules that I know that are more aesthetically pleasing than others, and then there are things that I've just picked up along the way of creating so many pieces over and over and over, and eventually you just kind of see it's like, okay, if I put this close here, versus giving it a little more space, it's going to look better. It's going to come across better. It might print better. Um, Also, whether it's silhouettes of characters and silhouettes of just different items within the print. If it's not clear, if it's not um, clear to the viewer, they're not going to appreciate it in the same way. A lot of it is, yeah, it's a lot of little tips, tricks, and
Just
just
experience.
learning about how people experience artwork and
Sure.
how they take it in. That if you kind of study that, then you could use that to your benefit to express yourself. It's kind of like learning an alphabet, or any type of skill that is transferable to communicating with other people. If you really study it, then it it makes your job a lot easier. If the larger your vocabulary,
Sure,
then
sure, sure.
the better the storytelling.
Do you remember like the first tip somebody gave you where you're like, oh, I get it?
Actually, do yeah. So my dad, I guess he did artwork in like high school before he ever met my mom, and he never did uh, anything with it professionally. But I know that he did, draw and take some classes. And when I don't know, I must have been really young, like 4 or 5 around there. I remember him at the kitchen table showing me the difference between just an outline of a circle or a sphere versus a sphere that has shading with light and shadow and a cast shadow and that kind of thing. And that was like one of the first ways that I remember somebody teaching me a skill like what you're asking.
Yeah. Um, that's pretty awesome, especially because it's from your dad.
Yeah.
Speaking of family, I hear your mom also paints.
Yeah, she does. She has a very nice portraitures.
Mhm.
She takes a lot of online classes,
Nice.
and she's part of this YouTube generation of artists that have just become amazing artists, just taking online classes. She's done some classes in person as well,
Sure.
but she's constantly in groups on Facebook and Instagram, and yeah, she enjoys all that. She was a police dispatcher for many years, and this is a very nice change of pace for her. So yeah, she enjoys it.
Is she still doing dispatch?
No, she's retired now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Good for
she
her.
just
Good for her.
retired last year.
Back to the Puscifer poster. Are there are there hidden things I haven't seen or caught yet? Or that others haven't pointed out?
I don't know what people have pointed out specifically, but I mean,
Do you think
I
there's
I,
anything you'd
I
point out?
enjoy there's the little bathing suit
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
definitely
yeah.
inspired by something. I won't say what, but
Why not?
yeah,
Is it
uh, just because if you know, you know.
fair enough?
Yeah.
Damn. Now I don't feel like I know. Can you tell me when we're not recording?
No,
Uh,
it's just a character that I remember seeing that character in one of those, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that'd be hilarious to put a little alien in one of those.
uh, what I really like about this poster is you think at first the alien is like, oh, he must be super small because he's coming out of the head of this luchador. But then you
Yeah,
find the like little Puscifer people with guns, and you're like, oh
yeah.
shit, this must be a freaking huge giant luchador, and this alien is like triple their size. These are some massive things. I just really like that. It reminds me of like I'm a comic book fan. It reminds me of like Galactus, like a
Yeah, yeah,
uh, like a large luchador Galactus.
right. Like one of the old gods.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's one of those tools I was talking about as far as making it interesting. If everything was the same size, it just wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't have the same impact. Playing with size, playing with color, whatever it is to make it interesting. That's what I feel brings a piece to life.
Um, Now, how with talking to other artists, some artists don't care for like different papers. Are you a foil fan? Do you not like foil? Do you not care about foil? What are your thoughts
I
on different
I
papers?
enjoy foils because they're a way of creating something new, something random with not random, but uh,
Unintentional, maybe.
the unintentional, yeah, leaving it open for serendipity to come through. And uh, I mean, if we didn't have those foils, everything would be on white paper, and it'd be kind of, I don't know, a little bit less interesting for the fans. I think the fans are the ones that we're trying to impress here, right? I mean, somewhat.
It's.
Um,
I feel like it's a love hate relationship with fans. Like
oh no, no, no,
you want to please them, but they're also like very demanding.
no, no, no. For me, I appreciate the fans, because without them, I mean, I wouldn't be doing this. So,
Agreed.
I take what they're looking for, what I think they're looking for, pretty to heart, because I don't want to give them something that is just going to turn them off to the artwork, or turn them off to the show that's coming up, because they see it at the show, and I want them to be pumped and be like, wow, that was a cool show, cool poster, everything.
From all the episodes I've done, I would say a little more than half people that are doing gig posters were really big into graffiti at one point in their lives.
Hmm.
Just curious on you if you have any theories on why that is, and how does it translate to poster art specifically?
I think we're just a product of our times. I think that was the art that was accessible to the kids growing up during, a certain time period. It wasn't reading comic books as much as it was painting on walls, maybe, for a lot of people. That And it was, yeah, part of the culture as well, with hip hop coming into the scene, and it being one of the main, tenets of hip hop. I think, yeah, it was a good introduction to art, whether it moved into fine art or posters or whatever it is. It was kind of, yeah, it was definitely an introduction for a lot of artists.
Do you think a lot of it has to do with being really good at typography and perspectives? Because it seems like graffiti artists have to not have to, but they all usually are really good at typography, and then just like force perspectives. Like I'm gonna do this big flashy thing really quick. Uh,
I I I, I tend to think that your artists aren't specifically good at certain things. I think that
Fair.
whatever you practice, you're going to get good at. And within graffiti, and I don't even want to say that I was any good at it, because I
Sure.
wasn't,
Okay.
at all. My background in it is very, it's not as much as other people, that's for sure,
Well, thank you for
certainly.
being honest.
Um, yeah, but as far as what I know is, like, within the community, you're going to want to be pushed to do good lettering. Um, if not, then it's looked down upon. It's not. It's crap lettering. It's like nobody's gonna like your style. Nobody's gonna want to be associated with you
Fair enough.
within that community. So, but the other aspect that you're talking about, the perspective and all that, yeah, that's one way to get known as well. I mean, if you could do all that, then I mean that you're gonna stand out. So, yeah, I don't know if everyone has the same exact skills. Like, I was really never into typography at the time.
Gotcha.
I just wasn't. I was more into the character based,
Sure.
type drawings, and
Did you have a specific tag?
I did, but not one that I would like to share.
Fair enough.
But yeah,
It wasn't
yeah, I
Munk
did.
One.
It was not Munk One, correct?
um, so you worked at Giant, I heard or read, the T-shirt company.
Yeah, that was one of the companies that I worked for. Giant Merchandising. They were in commerce. I
They-
worked for them in the 90s, or late 90s.
Yeah, because that in the late '90s, like if you didn't have like, at least in my middle school, if you didn't have like some type of Giant band T-shirt, you were not cool. And I mean,
Yeah, they did so many tour shirts, and all the bands from around that time. They were going through there. It was cool because I actually did see a lot of bands at the time just walking through the halls, and we got to meet them. And
what was
it
your
cool.
for like maybe most memorable starstruck moment, if you even get starstruck, or we're just like, God damn.
It was just, I don't know if I was like, God damn, but I remember it sticking in my mind was just like Marilyn Manson. Like, at the time, I was just like, "Whoa, is that how he usually is? Is that like what?"
Was he
It was
wearing
just
like
weird
a
to see him
getup?
outside of like a MTV,
Did he just have
outside
like
of,
plain face?
yeah, yeah.
Did he have
But
eyebrows? Do you remember if he had eyebrows? Because I don't think he has eyebrows.
I think he had one eyebrow at least. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite shirt from back in the day? From back in those days?
Oh man, I had a Deftones tee that I would wear just so many years. It was like just simple, just like their logo,
Like the white pony
like
one?
yellow.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't a white pony one. It was like a collegiate type
Yeah.
Deftones in yellow letters, and yeah, just very basic. But I love that shirt. Yeah,
I'm a huge Deftones fan. You can't tell right here, but I got like their adrenaline cat tattooed on the
oh,
front.
okay.
Huge Deftones fan. I'm a little upset they don't do more posters.
Yeah. I'd like to do one eventually if they do start doing more posters.
They need to get on it.
Right?
Because I've read, you do little word of mouth, or a lot of word of mouth, but sometimes you'll reach out to artists. Were they one have you reached out to yet, or have they any
I'm
nibbles?
sure I have.
Yeah.
I'm sure I have over the years.
How does that work when you like? How do you go about finding them, or like do you like hit up merch managers, or like what's the
any way possible, whatever works. Right. I don't care. Whatever works. I'll
all right, then
if somebody says like, oh yeah, I was doing this with the band, and they're like nobody like really that has access, I'll be like, well, if anything comes up, I want to do posters. Just let them know.
What do you have like a scenario in which you were like, I can't believe that worked?
I can't say for who, but recently I was like on Facebook and I saw somebody working with somebody that I would like to do a poster for. So I contacted them and just let them know, hey, if anything ever comes up. And they answered me. And they're like, yeah, I'm going to send your info along. I'm like, oh, crap. Nice.
If I guess it right, will you say yes?
You'll never guess.
Damn.
You won't.
Damn. Is it radio
all day? We'd be here all day.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, could be just because I'm not tied to a certain genre. Or
I was going to guess hip hop stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Just whoever I find interesting at the time, and I think would be a cool poster to work on. Yeah, I'll hit them up.
I'm guessing it was Megan Thee Stallion. I'm just kidding. That'll be my first and last guess. Talk about, if you can, Juxtapose Magazine. Is that still around?
Yeah, they're still around. Yeah, they put out their magazines monthly, I believe.
Do you still do stuff with them?
No, I haven't done anything with them for a bit. I was doing editorial art for the magazine. I think it started in 2013. So that around there.
That leads to my question: is what? Explain to me what editorial art is and like how that works.
Editorial illustration is well, it was for the editorial specifically. So it's usually like somebody's like an opinion piece, I guess, within the magazine. And at the time they were doing those. I'm not sure if they're still doing them, but it's just illustration that goes along with whatever the opinion piece is. And at that time, it was a lot of politics and things like that. So
how you try to capture, what somebody writes. Maybe it's the same way you try to do it with music into, a drawing. Or what's the thought behind it?
What made that a little bit more difficult was that I didn't know exactly what the writing was going to be at the time. We had sort of prompts, like what the overall theme would be, and also it was difficult because there were current events that were in flux at the time as well, and the magazine is printed way before it's released, or the artwork needs to be turned in way before the magazine is printed and then released.
Sure.
So it's kind of, I find that illustration for magazines in that way is a little bit more difficult than a tour print, because you kind of have to guess like what's going on with the situation with very little information, because it may be unfolding at the time, and creating a piece of art that says something, but at the same time, it's like, okay, am I saying the right thing? Am I taking the right stance on this event that is unfolding is like, I could be wrong. I don't know.
Like,
So I really had to at the time. It takes more. It takes more looking into the problem than actually, and I think I enjoyed. It wasn't as enjoyable as a tour poster, I would say.
fair enough. So you do fine art stuff as well, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I have a kind of a long question when it comes to that. What is the difference in attack from fine art to gig posters? And then the other attached question is, what challenges are there with fine art that may not be there with gig posters and vice versa?
Well, I've sort of moved away from fine art. I'm not doing as much these days. I've really been focusing on the tour posters for the last few years. But I still dabble in smaller pieces here and there. But the way that I go about it is not that different, except there isn't a prompt. There is no band that I'm promoting. There is no date or venue or any of that. So it's really it's more personal. It's way more personal. It's like, why am I gonna stop doing band posters to paint something? I better be saying something. I better have a feeling that I want to express. So it's more, yeah, it's way more personal, I would say.
Great answer. Is there a lot of competition between gig poster artists? Because it seems like I don't want to say it's a small community, but definitely seems like a tight knit community, the artists themselves. I'm just curious if there's like a lot of competition.
Oh no, I talk with a few different artists. Certainly, it's more of a community. I would say it's more supportive. It's not it's not coming from the same place as like graffiti. It's not. Graffiti is like, I'm gonna destroy you with my artwork. I'm gonna kill this wall. It's more. It's aggressive in a different way. Not better or worse. It's just different. And for posters, um, it's like I said, it's more positive, and you're trying to capture a feeling of what the show is like, and the show is a communal experience. It's very tribal in a sense. Um, it's it's a celebration. So I feel like, if anything, we just have, well, if anything, I have a lot of respect and admiration for a lot of the artists that I get to talk to and see their work, and it is just be inspired by as well.
But
Um,
there's not that like one guy that everybody knows that sends like, look what I did. Like, ha ha ha. Like, I feel like
well, I hope that's not me.
I feel like there's gotta be like that one guy. Because even in the
No,
community
I don't
that I
know.
am, there's definitely a handful of dudes that are like, you ain't got this. You didn't get to do this. But we're still friends. It's like friendly competition, I guess.
Yeah, friendly rivalry. I don't know. Maybe I haven't personally experienced that, but yeah, you're probably right. There's got to be one guy, right?
Right. So speaking of
or girl.
right or
Gotta
girl,
be fair.
there's
Yes.
yeah. Um,
Yes.
Speaking of community, you recently went to that San Francisco poster convention, correct?
Yeah. I just got back. Actually, I was still unpacking. TRPS out
Yeah,
in
yeah.
San Francisco.
Do you
Yeah,
mind?
that's a great show.
Do you
hmm
mind kind of touching on that? How was that? Like, what is your history with them? And yeah,
So
because I feel
the
like you've been doing it since like 2012 or something like that, or even before.
no, not that one. So Martin Hone, he's the president. He contacted me right before, in 2019. So it was the last one right before the pandemic, and that was actually my first one that I went to, and I enjoyed it so much. It was such a great show. It's a lot of history there, because a lot of the artists from the 60s are out there with their posters. And you have just all these different artists selling their posters to actual collectors. The collectors out there are there specifically for concert posters. It's not like one of these bigger shows, which are great, but you may get people that have no idea what it is that you're selling, or the history and the
you're talking like
the
cons.
reason why they're so this one is like, it's a nonprofit, the TRPS, the Rock Poster Society, and their goal is to just inform. From what I understand, one of their goals is to inform the public about the history of rock posters, why they're important, and creating a really cool community around it all. And I feel they're doing a great job at doing that, and I feel really welcome there. This was my second time that I went, and it was cool to see these newer artists like Zeb Love and a few others that are being welcomed into the fold as well. And along with these, I was there like with Stanley Mouse, like talking to him, and I was just like, dude, this is insane. Like Emic is right across from me,
right?
Emic is in his amazing artwork, and it's just like a really cool room to be in.
How do you choose what to bring to something like that? Is it just what you think might sell, or like, is there stuff you hold back?
No, I don't. No, I wouldn't hold anything back, but I am trying to figure out what the customers would look for, and also it's a little bit easier to take 18 by 24s than 12 by 36s. So the long ones I do leave back just because of transportation. But outside of that, no, I'm trying to find cool stuff that I think people would like and are looking for, and they'll be excited to see.
Did you bring any of your Puscifer ones there?
I did. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, there was a few that we had. Sometimes we'll hold back a few just for shows like that.
Are they all gone?
I'd have to check the folder, but probably not.
We might have to talk after this. So at those kinds of conventions, when interacting with the fans, do you ever do like remarks or anything like that?
People ask me to do, they call them doodles.
Yeah.
On the prints, and to be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of doing it, just because the artwork is done. It's finished.
You've done it.
And I want to present it the way it is, and also it's like if it's specific to one person, I kind of wonder if the value on that is diminished in any way, for in the future. If it's, I don't know how that would affect,
all right, so,
the longevity of it.
So this is a good question then. I've made it a point to try to get something from each artist, right?
Okay.
And to be a little bit more like, hey, I'm not trying to resell it. I always ask like, hey, can you just sign it to the podcast? Now, you're the way that you've just explained this to me, you would want to not personalize it so that it would retain value.
Yeah. But I know that's not everyone's goal. At the same time.
No, agreed. And I think it was just a little surprising to me because I feel like it would be more comfortable for an artist to want to do business with you, somebody like me, if they knew I wasn't going to resell their shit.
Yeah. I may be coming from a different place where I have sort of a fine art background where I've seen what the end goal is for a lot of these collectors, and a lot of it is longevity. Like, would it be the same if you saw prints in like a museum and by Picasso, and it was made out to Bob or something? I don't know.
From Picasso.
Yeah.
Spiral out. I'm just kidding.
I don't know. So that's just where I'm coming from.
No,
some artists, they may be more comfortable knowing that it's not going to be resold. I don't have a lot of issue with the resellers though.
Why do you think that is? Or you just personally don't have a problem with it, or you don't see the problem?
Oh no, I personally don't have a problem with the idea and the whole ecosystem that they are part of, because it is an ecosystem. It's
for sure,
they're 100%. Part of raising the value of the prints, and to see my prints going for large amounts is like, that's great. That's what a lot of artists have always, wanted from their artwork, but they didn't live long enough to see it.
For sure. Because I've definitely heard other artists go, they're a little, I don't want to say bitter, maybe slightly, and I mean very slightly resentful that, they sell a poster for $120 and then somebody else is selling it for $500, you know?
No, I don't see it as a negative. I feel like if somebody sees, like, if a client or a band sees that my posters are going for a certain amount, they might be more likely to hire me because they'll be like, wow, those are
Yeah,
sought after.
sure.
Well, let's hire this guy.
Yeah. Let's hire him again and again and again.
Yeah.
um, no, I didn't think of it that way. So I appreciate, because I think I got stuck into the like, all the, it's, I guess, a slight against the artist. Like, they're not getting all the money. So that's
Well,
wrong.
that's true. I mean, there is truth to that. I hear that. But I wouldn't get it in that way either way. If I sold my prints at that price, I would sell like what, one, two?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. It would be the same as fine art, a fine art piece where if I paint one fine art piece, it's like, okay, I'm going to sell one piece for a large amount, but that's it. Like, now I got to sell prints, right?
Yeah. Have you sold like really expensive fine art before? Like,
I have. Yeah.
how's that? Like, is that a strange feeling to like see some? It's actually a two-part question. One, how is it seeing like your art around the world? First of all, like, I'm sure you've seen it like randomly, like, oh shit, I did that, like on
Yeah.
a album or,
Yeah.
your Obama billboard. And then same thing with like a fine art print where it's like, wow, I made this in my garage or my living room and it's selling for $40,000 or whatever.
It's great. I mean, it's great.
Right?
Yeah.
It's gotta be a little surreal, right? You're like, oh shit. I remember I was watching Family Guy when I did that eyeball or whatever.
It's great because it doesn't always happen. It's kind of like it is a gamble. Whenever I create something, there's no certainty that it's going to sell, for that price. I've painted and drawn things that I thought were amazing and going to do really well, and it turns out nobody wants it. So it could swing both ways, and whenever it is going your way, I feel like all I could do is just be appreciative and
ride the wave.
And yeah, right.
Yeah,
exactly.
Follow up. Is there a piece of art or poster that you've done where you're like, this is garbage, but it just went like skyrocketed? Or maybe not garbage, where you're like, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe not as much effort, or you were just like not happy with it, but it ended up exploding.
Not so much with tour posters. I think more during my time working for like merchandise companies, where, like I said, the turnaround time is much, much quicker, and there is really no time to kind of like maybe even finalize something to where I would be happy with it. And the thing is, with that kind of stuff, you're doing so many. Eventually, you're going to have a hit, and you won't even know why. It's just be like, what, that? But I spent way more time on this, and yeah. So not prints. For prints, one of the reasons that I got into it is because I wanted that extra time to give it 100%. And so each job that I get, I'm giving it 110% for sure.
So you did the Blink-182 20-year and 30-year poster, right?
Yeah. I wasn't the only one that did a 20 year. I think there was. I think there was
like
more.
10, right? That did the 20.
Yeah.
Amick did one, but so what do you think about the new Blink reunion? I feel like you're a fan. You must be on some level. You're kind of my age in that era.
I think it's dope. I think, yeah, like super happy for the fans. Seem happy. Everyone's like excited. I think I've always. I mean, just like they're very appreciative of the last guy being there, but I didn't think that the sound was the same without all three of them together. I always felt like you needed like peanut butter and jelly, you just
Yep.
need the different, the salty and the sweet to
Yeah,
go
well,
together to make that special thing.
yeah, it was like peanut butter and Nutella, still good, but not the same.
Yeah,
Which is funny because
not
like
quite.
I've gotten in an argument with my lady. One of her most favorite bands is the Alkaline Trio.
Yeah, alkaline trio.
So
Yeah.
she's like a huge Alkaline Trio fan, and I was like, you know, I understand you like them, but it's not the same. And when they did the reunion, I was like, told you, we're getting tickets. And she's like, well, what's going to happen to him? I don't care. I'm sure he could play backup guitar somewhere. I respect
No,
any musician, but
no, they handled it so well. I don't know if you saw their Instagram posts to each
no.
other, but they were so classy about it.
Oh, I didn't see
Tom
it.
just yeah, he just Tom said some really nice stuff about the other guy, and the other guy came back with just really classy words. I would check it out.
I will. I will check it out. All right. I'm going to switch a little bit of gears, kind of going back to like artistic theory or style. How conscious were you about creating your own style? Or was it something that just happened naturally? Like, did you take steps to do certain things, or is it just kind of naturally happen?
I feel like I've been doing it for so long and kind of trying to figure that out that I don't even know if I have a specific style to my work. If you look at it,
No, I agree.
it kind of changes
Yeah.
From one piece to the next depending on what it is that I'm trying to achieve. So yeah, I think I'm more conscious of not having a style than it is than having one.
Gotcha.
Because that is something that comes up in a lot of conversations as to like what is that artist style? I was like, I don't
It's
know.
just a weird question.
I don't know.
It's a weird
Yeah,
question.
that's a good question.
Again, coming from somebody who's not artistically talented, which I'm trying to get into it, but nonetheless, it's like asking a chef, like, what's your favorite food? You're like, I don't know. It's all food. It's depends on how you make it. Because I am a chef.
Yeah.
In my day to day life.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I get that question a lot. What's your favorite thing to cook? Mm-hmm. Anything that tastes good. Like, just depends.
Yeah.
Like, I just want it to be a decent product at the end.
Yeah. I think there are people that can make that choice and kind of like stick to it. Maybe I just have more difficulty kind of sticking to one specific style and way of doing things. I think my interest in art is trying different things and trying different styles. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe one day it'll click.
I hope so, or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe when it clicks, you'll be done. I hope you keep trying and pushing.
Going back to foils, I don't know if I answered that question. As far as foils, I love foils. The different papers, working with the foil guy that creates the different foils. I kind of ask like, hey, what do you have coming out? And I'll kind of keep that in mind with the pieces that I do work on sometimes.
Is there
different colors and patterns?
Is there a specific pattern you like more than another?
I like crackle, and which is like a large kind of like chips of foil. And then there's another one like like a large speckle. I like those. I like the really colorful ones. They're hard to work on, but I think they're cool papers. And if you're going to go with an interesting paper, might as well just go all out. That's what I like to do, is kind of push things.
Sure.
If I'm going to do it, I don't want to go too subtle because the papers are expensive as well. Right.
How many colors did you use on this Puscifer one, this latest one? Because I know like 6 is usually the max, but I feel
it's about 6. Yeah, it's 6.
It just seems like there's more when you look at it. You're like, there's got to be more than 6 here.
That's going back to those little tips and tricks that you pick up over the years of what goes next to each other. You have, 6 colors and make it really vibrant, or 6 colors and your piece can be look like it's in black and white.
Yeah. And I guess too, there's on some level, and I'm learning about this too, but depending on where you set your layers, blue and a yellow can make a green, right?
You could do that. Yeah. You could definitely do that. On that one, I think I have yellow going over a red to make that orange.
Like when you do that, you kind of save on paying for more color.
Oh yeah. You do definitely save, because I didn't have to pay for that orange, right? So that's saving some money for the client. But there's a way to go about it and try to get those colors to be vibrant. But if you start overlaying multiple colors, you can kind of get muddy.
Mm-hmm.
So I try not to do it too much, because at least right now, in the future, I may just go for a really muddy look. Who knows?
Right. Yeah. I have 2 different projects I'd like to talk to you about. First one is the George A. Romero. He's obviously not with us anymore, but you got to do a Night of the Living Dead one, and you also got to do like his self-portrait, right? Or his like you got to do him as a zombie. Did you get to meet him? Like, how was that interaction?
No, it was through a company. I'm blanking on their name right now. Fright Rags. That's who it is. Fright Rags. And they contacted me about the job, and they knew at the time I was doing a lot of zombies. Zombies were big at the time, and I was doing a ton of them. I got pretty good at it as far as, what people thought. So they contacted, I couldn't believe it, George, Romero. I mean, that's
because I read
the originator right there.
Yeah, I read somewhere that he signed off or something, like on the poster, or like gave a thumbs up or something.
Well, no, I think he asked for the project, whatever the project. I think it was he was partly part of the commission.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I'm obviously a huge zombie fan, and I'm a big movie guy, so.
I did do another print with that little girl from like the very first George Romero one, the Night of the Living. Night of the Living Dead. The little girl that like gets up and like gets her parents with the little axe, or not an axe. It was like a flower.
Yeah.
Thing.
I know it's the skinnier one, right? It's like a purplish color.
That one. So I have that one signed with that girl. That
nice.
was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's one of the ones that I keep. I don't keep a lot of my prints that are signed, but that one I kept.
All right. So then there leads to another question. What are some of the ones you've kept of your own? Where you're like, this one was awesome. I'm gonna keep that.
Usually they're gifted ones. Like I have a Gary Clark Jr. that was signed and that was given to me. There's a Blink 182 that was signed. That one was on my daughter's birthday. That they signed that print, so I kept that one. Not very many. Yeah.
What about the Tom Waits art? He's obviously a legend.
That was for an editorial. That was part of the editorial for Juxtapose.
Nice. Did they talk to him? Like, is it strange drawing real people?
For the editorial, since it's editorial, that's a little bit different than contacting. Like, you don't need permission.
Gotcha.
To do something like that, because it is it's protected. It's part of an opinion piece, so it's free speech.
Sure.
Yeah. So no contact with him.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right.
Let's do it.
If you could only do one post, or if you could only do a poster for one band, like if you had to choose one band for the rest of your career to work with, what do you think what band you would choose?
Oh, wow. For the rest of my career.
Like if you had to choose one band, you're like, all right, I'm going with these guys. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I like these.
Yeah, I don't know if I can make that choice. That'd be tough, because I mean, there's certain bands, but I don't know how long they're going to be around. And then there's other bands I really like, but I would be broke as fuck. I don't know.
All right. And I'm sure you get this question all the time, but from all the interviews I've read on you, you back from 2009 till now, they always ask you like, who would you like to work with? And I'm I'm curious on, if you've gotten to work with those so far and who's still left, like that you still want to work with.
Oh yeah, there's always new people that I want to work with. I've worked with so many bands that yeah, the list is small. But
Who's number
yeah,
one
see,
or top three, if that's easier?
yeah, I tried to reach out to Idols. They're a band that I like. They're from the UK, and I really enjoy their sound. Childish Gambino. I'd like to work with him.
Donald Glover's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, I'm a big fan. I mean, it's a small list because
How many posters do you do a year usually?
I try to do at least one, at least one a month minimum. So, yeah, if I'm doing 2 to 3 a month, I haven't really counted how many I do per year. On average, I would say at least, you know, 12 minimum
Gotcha. How often do you turn down jobs?
every week. I mean, I used to, every week I will turn down something because I'm either already booked or the deadline's too tight or whatever it is. It just doesn't work out because I do have consistent work.
Sure.
Even outside of posters, I'm running different things with. But see, the thing is, I'm not turning it down and saying I'm not going to take it on. I have my company, Invisible Industries, and with that, we have like a design agency where I know other artists throughout the years, and so I think in 2011 I started Invisible Industries. 2000 maybe 19, 18 around there, I started Kintsugi Media, and because I got tired of turning things down and just saying sorry, I can't take it, and that's it. I knew too many artists that were looking for work and
Yeah.
doing
So you're just
different projects
trickling
as
it.
well.
You're trickling it down.
Yeah, so I'm just like, yeah, well, I can't personally do it, but I know somebody who can, so we keep that going. So if anyone is looking for art, I mean, and they're still going to need the project done, right? So might as well give it to people that I know.
Yeah, that's a good friend. Do you have any artistic rituals like before you start drawing or doing a project? Do you like thank the paper or the pens or anything, or like draw a big heptagram or you know
I feel like my ritual is procrastination by cleaning.
by cleaning?
I got to clear out my space a little bit.
Dude, I'm the exact
from the
same
last
way.
job.
I'm the exact same way. I'm like,
no, I can't start that until I really clean this desk over here. And yeah, no, the previous job I kind of just clear out whatever ink I was done with and the paper and uh, whatever it is that I'm done with. I kind of just get it out of the way and start fresh and just keep going.
if you weren't an artist, what job do you think you'd be doing? Or what job would you like to have if you couldn't be an artist?
I would like to be like a musician within the music industry in some sense.
Do you play already?
No, but I used to like just dabble with like singing with different bands. My friend.
Were you singing like Atreyu and stuff? I'm just kidding.
No, my voice is not that capable.
You're not like.
Yeah, no. My other actually had a band that he would sing like that. Now, he has a dope voice. Like he could hang with those screams.
I cannot. What has been your like craziest interaction with a job where you may not be able to tell names, but have you ever been requested to do something where you're like, that's insane? No. Or that's insane. Yes.
It's like something where I said no.
Either or, where just the request itself was just like strange or odd.
strange or odd. No, I don't think. No, I think people are pretty conservative when it comes to putting something out. I think the artists are usually the ones that tend to push
Sure.
and kind of be like, hey, let's do this, and that's where it could potentially be reined in, um,
So then
for whatever reason.
I'll switch it up then. Do you have a scenario in which you were like, I'm going ham on this one, and they were just
Uh-huh.
like, relax, Monk One?
uh, no, thankfully the people that I work with, they are very open with what it is that I do and what it is that other artists do as well, and that's why I work with them.
Sure.
They're not going to be the ones to put the brakes on much. So no, um, I can't think of one where they said no, that's too much. I think a lot of times they're like, yeah, we know you're going to do a good job. Go ahead, do it.
Okay. Um, last, uh, kind of last question.
Hmm.
You've been doing this since 2009. How can you explain to me like how you think the market has changed or like how the poster community has changed since 2009 till now? Like maybe some trends you've seen or, just the difference in community and where do you think it may be going next?
I feel like it's waves of sales and artists coming in and it's just ups and downs. Every year is different. Um, from 2009 to now, the biggest difference would be the amount of artists that are doing prints. It feels like there's a lot more artists doing prints, and there's a lot more bands doing prints. Um, I feel like prints have really become one of the major collectibles at events where they weren't for a while. They were kind of just like there was a community behind it, but it wasn't what it is today. Uh, Even at TRPS, there was new people getting into it. They're like, "This is my first show. I have never collected one print, but I just started, and now I'm all in."
Yeah.
you know,
It's
so
it's nuts.
yeah, it really is nuts. And with that, with so much artwork coming out, I feel like there's a lot more expectation by the customers, and it's it's a little bit more difficult to excite them, to get them uh, uh, to be impressed by something when there is a lot of great artwork out there. So it's to their benefit. I think it makes the artist jobs a little bit more difficult, but maybe that's a good thing. Maybe we got to
Sure.
keep pushing it and seeing what we can do. And there's always artists out there like Emek and you know uh, Busta and all these guys that have they've always pushed the boundaries of prints, anyways. So it's going to happen. We're
Sure.
going to keep growing, and yeah, I think we're in a sort of a renaissance of what uh, poster art is capable of doing right now.
That's awesome. I really like your attitude towards it. It seems very positive. I really appreciate that, by the way.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
you got to be. If not, it's going to be. I mean,
I
what are you
w-
going to say? It's like it's horrible. Yeah, the fans are,
well,
they're too picky right now. Or no, there's a upside to it. There always is.
sure. But I guess not everybody is that, I don't want to even say it's optimism. I just think it's like, it's just how it is. And I'm going to take it, like in a positive direction. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
yeah. Which I guess is what I've noticed over this conversation is just like whether it's difficult or not, it seems like you're happy to be doing it.
Oh, definitely. Certainly, I'm happy to be doing it because the alternative is not doing it, I guess.
Yeah. Or, a 9 to 5, which may be absurd.
Yeah. It has come with its challenges, throughout the years. Being a post artist is not it's not a paycheck that you can expect, every 2 weeks.
Sure.
It doesn't come with the benefits of a regular 9 to 5. We got to deal with all that, paying for our own insurance, paying for, our own 401k. There's nobody else chipping in. And there are challenges to being a post artist. But then there's the benefits, there's that peace of mind of doing what it is that you feel you should be doing. And if you're not doing what you should be doing, then yeah, you should probably just stop and get that 9 to 5, right?
Agreed. Well, Munk One, Mr. Munk, Mr. One, it's my callback. Thank you so much for coming on. Can you tell everybody where they can find your stuff and where they can do the whole plug thing?
Yeah. So you could find my portfolio at monkone.com. And you could find our shop at invisible-industries.com. And everything there, there's all sorts of different projects. You got the posters, you have some fine art prints, all sorts of stuff on there. And I hopefully will be at TRPS again whenever they invite me. So
I'm trying to go next year.
Yeah, and I try to do a couple other shows here on the West Coast, maybe one on the East Coast next year. So we'll see. But thank you so much, Christopher. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Well, again, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. All right. Take care.
Right. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Spiral Out Podcast is produced by me, your host, Chris West, edited by me, researched by me. Everything is pretty much just done by me. Go to our website, spiraloutpod.podbean.com. Follow us on Instagram at spiral_out_pod. Facebook, Spiral Out Podcast. And again, if you want to see some of the images associated with this episode, click the link in the show notes and it'll take you there. Again, thank you for listening. Spiral Out. Pod dismissed. Wait, that's another show.